Welcome to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. I'm your host, Lori LeBay, and I'm so excited that you're joining us today. We are going to have a fascinating conversation as usual as we learn from people all around the world at all ages and stages of life. Stay tuned as we shift our dementia care from crisis to comfort.
Here we go. What you think about, you will bring about.
Well, hi, everyone, and welcome back to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. I am your host, Lori LeBay, and my own mother lived with dementia for 30 years, so I get this, and that is why I started Alzheimer Speaks. It's about raising everyone's voice around the world, from those living with the disease to family members, researchers, people who have services, products, and tools. We have authors, we have musicians, movie directors, all types of advocates, and maybe, just maybe, you can be our next guest. Just feel free to reach out to me. I would love to hear from you. If you liked our opening music, it's called Clarion Call by the Mark Arneson Band, and you can download that on any of your favorite music platforms. Now, before we get into our conversation today, I always like to do a few shout outs. And so first I want to give a shout out to Dementia Map. Dementia Map is a creation with myself and Dave Wiedrich, who is the founder of the Memory Cafe directory. And Dementia Map is a resource directory with over 150 categories you can search. We've broken them down into 7 easy categories. There's also a calendar of events that has lots of free things that you can participate and get yourself educated through, as well as a glossary, because we know you don't know what you don't know when dementia comes and knocks on your door. There's also a blog that has wonderful articles as well. So go to dementiamap.com and check it out. Let me know what you think. And if you are a service provider or have some information you would like to share on the site, just reach out to me and I will make sure that you get all set up on that. Now, you might not have heard of Picnic Health. Picnic Health is a Alzheimer's research study, and it's really easy to do. What they do is they collect and digitize all of your medical records into one online account, and then you can consent permission for them to share anonymized data of your records. And then medical researchers can kind of go in and dig around and find out what's going on in the real world. And they can get information that they wouldn't have normally gotten from just a regular trial. And for doing this, you'll get $25. So you can go to picnichealth.com/speaks and sign up today. And if you are caring for someone with Alzheimer's disease, you can sign them up as well, as long as you have legal authority to do that. Again, just go to picnichealth.com/speaks and pick up your $25 and push that research forward. Now, with the pandemic still going on, I know people are in need of support. And so Arthur's Senior Care continues to sponsor our Memory Cafe, Arthur's Memory Cafe, which is for people with dementia and their care partners. And we do that twice a month on the second and fourth Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central. So that would be 2 o'clock Eastern, noon Mountain Time, and 11 a.m. Pacific Time. We are doing that virtually during COVID, and so you are more than welcome to join us. Also, if you're in Minnesota, I do a Caregiver Connect program, and that is sponsored by Brookdale North Oaks and the Shoreview Parks and Rec Center. And we meet at the Shoreview Community Center the last Wednesday of each month from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Central Time. Now, the last 2 months, we have gone virtual. So if that's of interest to you, reach out to me, because we will definitely let you know where things are sitting regarding that. Next, we're going to hear from the Adaptive Equipment and Caregiving Corner, and they are experts on senior care. And they're going to highlight for us why they think the footbar walker is such an excellent tool. So we'll hear from them and we'll be right back with our guest.
I love the footbar walker, and let me tell you why. It is the option for my toolbox that I've been waiting for. Let's be honest, there are some clients who, despite our best rehab efforts, just aren't able to return to performing a sit-to-stand transfer on their own. Now I can offer my caregivers an easier, safer option that doesn't involve hoisting their loved one up from a sitting position. I don't recommend this walker for all of my clients, but I do recommend this walker for those caregivers looking for an easier, safer option with transfers. I would also encourage other therapists to add this walker to their toolbox. It's kind of like having my own mobile parallel bars for the client to pull up on. Whether it's a family caregiver at home helping a loved one with Parkinson's or dementia, CNAs in a long-term care facility assisting their patients, or therapists adapting to client and caregiver-specific needs, we now have a very safe and effective option to offer in the footbar walker. Check this product out at thefootbarwalker.com. That's it for today from Adaptive Equipment and Caregiving Corner. Have a great day, and don't forget, if you can't do it, adapt it.
Okay, so we're back and we are going to talk today about burdens, treatments, and potential cures for dementia with Chaim Ismai, and he is a German medical doctor and scientist. And by heart and experience and enthusiasm, he has written a book, which I'm going to say the title in English, and I'll let him say the title in German, is Suffer and Laugh. Which we're going to discuss today. In addition, we will get Chaim's thoughts about burdens of care and thoughts of treatment and potential cure. And let me tell you, he is at the center of this with his own family as well. So Chaim, I'm so excited to have you with us today. I said the title of your book in English, Suffer and Laugh, and I'm going to let you go ahead and tell them the title in German, because I didn't want to crucify the name in German, which I was sure I was going to do.
Okay. First of all, Laura, thank you very much. It's really a pleasure to be in your show today. Yes, the title of my book, I would say it's a booklet. It's not 300 pages. It's less. It's around about 100. So it's short, but I hope it gives a good overview about all that, what might be important for sufferers and family members. So in German, the title is Alzheimer Demenz, Leiden und Lachen.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Now, before we get started, I always ask everybody if they have been touched personally by dementia in their own family and circle of friends. And so I haven't given anything away. I just told them that you have definitely been touched, and I would let you go ahead and summarize that for us.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Laurie. Yes, if you would ask me some nine months ago, I would say I've never been in contact. So I know quite a lot of people, friends, colleagues, which have family members, which have friends, or who have friends who suffer from dementia, or in most cases Alzheimer, but I was never affected or involved. But this changed rapidly in last spring, when I was informed that my mother was diagnosed Alzheimer. And then all started.
And it does just kind of all start, once it hits, there's kind of no going back, with that diagnosis, and all the pieces kind of start falling together in the puzzle that may have been a little bit confusing prior to. So thank you for sharing that. You've written this workbook, and did this come out of your dealings, with your own parents?
Yes, it came. So I'm a doctor by profession. Mm-hmm. So I have had a professional contact with patients who have suffered from Alzheimer, but this was professional, and it's not my specific task. By profession, I'm a pulmonologist and allergologist, now working since around about 25 years in pharma industry, in pharmacovigilance, and there have been contacts, but again, this was totally unemotional. This was rational. This was professional.
Mm-hmm.
And then, let's say we can say out of the blue, I got the information that my mother was diagnosed Alzheimer. And then, yes, I was really thinking why you didn't saw this in advance. I mean, I have to say that the last time I have seen my mother before was around about 1 year. And this was only for a few hours. And my mother is 80 years old now. And yes, she's not 60, she's not 70, she's 80. So you think this is normal aging. But then it turned out it's not. Yes, and then I was confronted with quite a lot of things to do, to think about. And yes, I had, from today's point of perspective, I would say I had the chance to learn quite a lot. I had to in a very short period of time, and even organize how to learn in a short period of time as much as possible.
It's interesting when a lot of us are in the business of healthcare and you know about it, but when it hits your own family, everyone says it's really different. Did you feel that too?
Yes, totally. So I have to admit that no one of my friends would say I'm an emotional type. Mm-hmm. They would say, okay, he's a funny guy sometimes, but he's very rational. But if you are exposed to it and involved personally, you change your role. So I was not a doctor. Suddenly I was the son of a mother diagnosed with Alzheimer. And then to come back, to try to look from outside in. And what I did after a few weeks when I saw it's really hard to handle that from an emotional perspective, from all the things I had to do and I had no experience in, I call it my project Alzheimer. Because in business, I'm used to make projects. And a project, or one of the project definitions I very much like is a project is something innovative with a clear target you have never done before. And you should target very clearly what you want to do and time and resources. And that's it. I mean, in daily life, exactly that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so for you, I like that you termed it innovative. You wanted to do something different. And you wanted to target something very specific. Let's talk first about, from your perspective, what was the biggest burden to you and your family and to your mom as well regarding Alzheimer's and dementia? And were those different for different people?
Yeah. Yes, I think it's not that. Okay. On one hand, it's very easy to answer that. On the other hand, it's not, because there were such a lot of moments, emotional moments, and I think this is the first burden. So the first hurdle is to really to accept the diagnosis. It's not only a cold, or it's not even pneumonia. It's even not, let's say, cancer, where you in most cases can do something. So there is you might have a chance to influence, to work for better situation of the patient. And so, first of all, suddenly the patient, I will still call my mother a patient for me, just from my profession. She's not only a patient, she's your mother. And this, on one hand, makes it very easy for all your effort to do. On the other hand, I personally try wherever possible to step back and to look from outside, not being too much involved. And thus, this was, as I would say, it's a kind of a burden, it's a hurdle. And it becomes easier when I accept that she has a dementia. Whether it's Alzheimer or not is not, it might be somewhat academic, but at the end it's the symptomatic she had, or she has. And in addition, also the situation of my father, who was at that time 86 years old, so even not a young man. They were around about 60 years together. And for him, it was also a very difficult situation, which then, and this turned out some weeks ago when we talked before, Rory, he also starts to have dementia now. So this turns out, so it's not even the situation he was confronted with and totally overloaded, but he also develops dementia.
Which has to be really, really hard to be having two parents now that you're told have dementia. Are you close distance-wise?
Fortunately, after around about 25 years living in the south of Germany, I now turned some months before I turned to the north of Germany, to Hamburg, where my parents live. So it's round about by car, let's say half an hour. But the distance in kilometers is not that problem. It's often your day-to-day work, all the meetings, all the stuff you have to do. And this was also very problematic for me. Even if I made a date with them, sometimes they do not open the door. They never react. Although I know they are there. We had an appointment. They did not open the door only after 10 minutes ring or calling them or all that stuff, which also is due to the disease they have.
So are they open to like giving you a key so that you can get into the apartment? Or because I know some families aren't comfortable in terms of sharing certain things.
Yes, they gave me, and 2 weeks later they asked me to give back. And in addition, 4 weeks later, they gave me again the key. And in addition, 4 weeks, they asked me to give them back the key. So this was even not that easy. Mm-hmm. So it's a kind of, I would say on-off relationship. It's due to their disease.
Have you met with them at all in terms of getting legal paperwork in order? Because, that can be a whole nother thing. And again, when there's resistance, it's really complicated.
So fortunately, they made this legal papers in 2008. The problem or the situation in Germany is that you may be asked by the government whether you or a professional should take care for them. And I have to say I wasn't informed about the disease of my mother directly by my parents, but by government. Because the doctor of my parents started a request at the government that they need some help. So, and then I was in this machinery, I will call it, all the professions except me. Because I was, it was out of the blue, I was not informed about. I got a letter and was informed about this care situation. And then I had a lot of calls, letters, and so on and so forth. And the situation in Germany is that there are quite a lot of dementia patients, but there are only very few people from government who take care of that. Okay. So it's a bureaucratic problem.
Oh, wow. Wow. What has been for you the most emotional piece of dealing with all of this? I'm sure there's many.
May I answer for 3 emotionals?
Sure.
Okay. Should not be more than 3. Okay, there was one. Let's say, I would say it's a kind of a story. When I visit my parents, I was sitting with my mom on the balcony. Was a warm, sunny weather in September, and I thought, okay, today she has a quite good day. But then I tried to see whether my impression is true. And then I asked her some very, I would say, easy questions. So starting with, hey mom, do you know what day we have today? And she said, oh, no, not really. And I said, okay, it's not a problem, but do you know what day of the week we have today? And as I was visiting my parents more or less every Sunday, it should be Sunday. And she even thought about that 1 minute, 2 minutes. And then she said, I'm not really sure, but it's not a problem, isn't it? And I said, sure, it's not a problem. I'm here and you do not have another appointment. So this may happen. And then I asked her some other questions, such as, do you know what season we have? And then I saw that she was looking around on the balcony, looking for the weather, the temperature, the trees. And then she said, it's not summer, isn't it? And I said, no, it's not really. How? Then it must be somewhat later. And I said, yes, you're true. And then I asked her, by the way, do you know the name of the street we're living in? And again, she was thinking about, looking at me, thinking longer. And then she said, I'm not really sure. And I said, oh, it's not a problem. I'm not sure. So don't be angry. It's not a problem. And you have to know that my parents are living in the street for more than 50 years now.
Okay.
And then I asked her, do you know the name of my oldest son? And then again, she was looking at me. And then she said, do you really have children? So at that, after I think we were 6, 7 questions, suddenly I really start to cry. And to be honest, I cannot remember when I cried the last time before. It must be 10, 15 years. And I even don't know when and why. And then she asked me, what is Chaim? Why are you crying? And then I told her that for me it's so hard to see that she is not oriented whether in time nor in location. And then she said, you do not need to cry. I'm not unhappy. I feel well. And everything will be fine. And so let's say that the contrast between what is fact and what she feels, it was a kind of bizarre, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, then it was a very nice afternoon after that, but this was very, very emotional. Yes, and the second emotional point was some weeks ago, when it turns out, as I mentioned before, that my father also has dementia. And as I said before, it was not that easy to accept that my mother has Alzheimer. But then suddenly the diagnosis of my father, which I thought would be much more easier to accept because I was kind of trained by my mother's dementia, but it was not. It was somewhat harder, I thought. And I even thought at that time to stop my book project. And I started the book project just to write down these anecdotes, these stories, just to cope a little bit with the situation. But at that time, I really, really thought to skip that. But obviously, I did not.
which is good. With both of those situations, it is hard to accept. But what I loved with your mom was she said, it's okay. I'm okay. And I think that's what all of us as care partners have to get, is we have to get out of our head and our
Yes.
loss. And that took me a long time. My mom lived with dementia for 30 years, and I came up with a tool called Your Memory Chip. And I decided I had to put her first before any of my to-do lists or any of my visits. And it really exactly what your mom was saying. And I had to focus on, was she safe? Was she happy? Was she pain-free? Those were my objectives, to kind of just make sure that she was okay versus getting things done, doing those tasks, which are busy work and stuff for us.
Yeah. Yeah, even I totally agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's thinking differently.
Mm-hmm.
It is totally different when you're a medical doctor. You're not in the center. You're just around the patient.
Mm-hmm.
But in this situation, I was with my mother, and I'm now with my father. For some reasons, it turns out that sometimes I was in the center, whereas my parents should. And again, this is what I meant with stepping out, looking from outside into the situation, just
Mm-hmm.
focusing on my parents. And yes, I think it's so what I tried to do when I'm visiting them was let's say we had 3 hours time together. We had 1 hour to discuss and to talk about all the things which have to be done, which need to be forwarded,
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. So the musts. But the other 2 hours, we just had fun. We just talked about whatsoever. We were laughing. Sometimes we were laughing without any reason. I mean, there was good reason not to laugh, but having a good time. And this is something I really learned again, that for them, as for me, have a good time is the most important thing.
Yeah, I agree. And I think so often as family members, we give up the laughter and the fun because we take disease so seriously. And we give that over to our relationship. And yet laughter, I haven't met anybody who doesn't like to laugh, who doesn't appreciate having a good time, because you're relaxed and you're present in the moment. I mean, there's so many benefits to, physically, and physiology wise to laughing, the chemistry changes, and there's, creates memories, which are all emotional. And so those are good things to be able to draw on. I wanted to also mention, when you said to yourself, I thought it would be easier with dad accepting his, but then it's really kind of a double whammy. So you're dealing with your mom, but you still have your dad to kind of rationalize and evaluate what's going on. And now you don't have that springboard anymore. And I think that that's very common for families who, get hit twice by that. It's like, well, I should have a handle on this. It should be easier. I know the process, but it's still loss. It's still loss. And there's grieving that has to be done, and we all grieve differently, and it hits us at different times. And I know Pauline, I don't know if you're familiar with Pauline Boss, but she's very well known here in the States, and she's got a book about ambiguous loss. And I interviewed her, I want to say last fall, and she said, we always thought there were these set stages to grief, and she says we're all coming to realize that grief never goes away. It changes and it ebbs and flows. And so, people are kind of looking for an out of, when am I going to get over this? And, my dad's been gone since 2001. My mom's been gone since 2015. And I still grieve for them. I still miss them. But I also was able to like you, create some wonderful memories and stories of laughter. And I've learned that, you can't have great grief without first having great love. And that is a gift many people never experience. And so that kind of helps bring me out of the hole sometimes when I'm getting down, is to remember those moments of laughter and fun and joy, or maybe just silence, just sitting in the presence of somebody you feel safe with, and comfortable. Those are magnificent things. That shouldn't be undervalued. So I think those were really good points to make out. You said you had a third example, and if you have more, feel free. That's fine too.
Yes, this was also. May I just come back to your comments on laughing? Do you know that children, so young children, laugh about 200 up to 400 times a day? Mm-hmm. So quite often. And as older we become, as less we are laughing, and let's say people in the age of 60, they only laugh 15 to 20 times a day. It's not, at the end, I can tell you that that's not often enough. And when I were at my parents', I didn't count it, but my feeling was it was more than double the 20. It was 40 times or more. And then I also, and this is also part of my book, I went into what do we know by science about laughing, all the effects, what you can measure, the serotonin and so on and so forth, and what happens with all the hormones if we suffer. And this is, as almost all in medicine, it's not fully understood. It's not understood, but it's a little bit understood. So we can measure something, and we have some hypotheses. But what is quite interesting are the effects if you're laughing. I mean, not what you can measure chemically, but what you can see. And even you think that if you're laughing, I mean, a real laugh, not just a little bit, just really laughing, all your body, I think it's more than 200 muscles are working. Yeah. So it's really kind of a training. You feel good. And then I was looking again from a scientific perspective, what's about all these laughing therapies? Mm-hmm. There are quite a lot, but at the end, there's not good scientific basis for that. It's relatively poor, and interestingly, there's not one paper on the effects of laugh by Alzheimer. So it's quite often documented, but it's not established as a therapy. Again, just coming from my point, this is quite interesting, because I think if you use it, I mean, not laughing just for laughing, but coming into situations where you laugh. This is quite a good therapy for all involved.
Yeah, I had one colleague years ago that said we should really measure by smiles.
Absolutely, totally agree.
And happiness, and we don't do that. We dig deeper and have to look for more. And I don't know if you're familiar with the movie Alive Inside.
Yes.
But talks about how music just makes people peaceful and happy and more engaged. And what I find incredible with that is it's not just dementia, but schizophrenia, post-traumatic stress, all kinds of, and just regular people. How it affects not only them, but the people around them as well.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have you laughed because somebody you don't even know is just busting a gut and they can't stop laughing, and it just gets contagious, and yet it feels funny, and someone will say, "What are you laughing about?" I don't know, but it still feels really good, to laugh like that, and then that makes it almost funnier, and you laugh even more.
Absolutely. And it's a effect which lasts quite a lot. Mm-hmm. So it's lasting for a period. So it's not even laughing in the situation. Let's say 10 minutes later, the other say can you remember 10 minutes ago what we laughing, and you're laughing again.
Yep.
And if you remember on the evening about all the situations or all the fun you laugh about, it again works. And I was really surprised that, again, this is not an established treatment in Alzheimer, and especially in Germany. Laugh therapy is not really established. There are quite a lot of countries where it's totally different, but in Germany it's not. It's very poor. It's again, it's not really established.
There's a lot of laughter yoga people that are out there, and you know, I participated in some of those groups, and people go, you know, it's a forced laugh, and it is in the beginning, and then all of a sudden it's just not. You know, it's just funny and it's fun, and you can, and I've seen this done, of course, with people with dementia, and the eye contact that wasn't there before is now very easy for them to engage, and, you know, the different motions that might be happening. It's kind of magical to watch, you know, with that. Why do you think we don't have laughter, you know, as a prescription, or music as a prescription? In terms of therapy?
I will tell you, I do not understand. Because why it's quite often you are, I do not fully understand. There might be quite a lot of answers, hypotheses, comments. So just starting with what is so problematic in clinical trials. Often it's the measurement of the endpoint. Without any doubt, as you said, counting smiles a day over a period from the start to 3 months later. It's so easy, isn't it? You just count it. It's a totally cheap treatment. It doesn't cost you anything except time, which might be very expensive, but it's time. It's not money. And you have to do it standardized. And what I see is, this might be another reason, perhaps we aim, or our targets for treating Alzheimer are too high. Quite often people say, oh, we need a treatment to stop progress. We said to not starting the disease or whatsoever. But at the end, I think we also, at least at this point in time, come too late with early intervention. Because when we see, or when Alzheimer's is diagnosed, it might be 10 to 15 years ago when it started, with all these molecular changes. And this might be something for the future. And I think there's also some good evidence that we might have some of these tailored drugs in 10, 15 years. But what we can do now, in particular, if we look what these drugs we have available now are effective or are not, or have side effects without having a good efficacy, what we're looking is symptomatic treatment. Okay, and what should we better do than making the people feel good with laughing? I think it should. I think we should think differently.
Yep.
It should be more innovative, not only or starting from scratch. Really starting from scratch, having a hypothesis which has already been proven by daily life experience, and then put it on the scientific base.
Well, I think it's interesting when you talked about, you know, the expense, and yet the expense could be time. Yet you look at the expense the drug companies have in terms of developing these drugs. I mean, millions and sometimes billions of dollars on this. And if we took those funds and trained our staff to, you know, maybe count smiles, you know, it's a double whammy because, you know, it's taking time, but if we invested it in education and did a trial in terms of looking at our collateral a little bit differently, we're going to build on relationships. Everybody's going to learn this technique. We're going to slow things down. We're going to stop thinking that there's a magic bullet that's going to fix everything. And we continue on with this fast-paced life when we ignore human need out there. And, especially through COVID, we've seen the impact multiplied by isolation and disconnection and people, lacking in purpose. All of that goes away through laughter. I mean, when you're doing this together, you're getting rid of the isolation, you're getting rid of not feeling purposeful or not feeling connected. And, I talk with a lot of people living with dementia, and they say, those that are advocates and really out there, that they've never felt as purposeful in their life as they do now living with this disease. And they're grateful, which sounds really backwards, for having the disease, but it's opened the door to many people they wouldn't have met, relationships they wouldn't have had, being able to help others and feel like this disease is not for anything. And so, I would love to see the expansion of research on social connection and really changing the physiology within people.
Yeah, I totally agree, Lori. And as already mentioned, I worked for pharma and biotech industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked for research and development. Then I changed into drug safety, what we call pharmacovigilance. So I think I have quite a lot of experience about this business.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, it's a business. So if a company tried to develop a new drug, this is on one hand to do something good without any doubt. Otherwise, you can make another business, but you want to earn some money. Mm-hmm. You have to. For several reasons. This is our system. And to be honest, you will not ever earn quite a lot of money with laughing. Laughing is for free, except the time. So for free doesn't mean money.
It's free, but there could be educational programs, granted, not near to the $56,000, for treatment that this new med came out.
Yeah.
But I look at even like with Alive Inside, people had talked, just think if we could prescribe an iPad and getting that loaded, that would be under $100 probably.
I totally agree with you. I just stated what the current situation is.
Yep.
So, and to get money, there are quite a lot of different pots where you can get it.
Mm-hmm.
So from government, from societies, and so on and so forth. And even if you can say, okay, we can earn some money, or we can do it for free, but it has to be paid. Mm-hmm. So again, we are at a stage where we should think differently, without not keeping in mind that we need money.
Mm-hmm.
But again, this is unfortunately, this is still innovative.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2022, and we know since, in the old Greeks, they know about the positive effects of laughing. And now, as mentioned, it's 2022, and we still do not apply systematically, although we know that.
Yeah. I just think too, in terms of, and I understand the state, I understand, the people lobbying, for the pharmas and all of that. And I would like nothing better for this to go away, so I get that. But when you have something that works, like music and laughter, building relationships, those could all be programs that could be prescribed through the doctor's office, because right now they don't get anything. People get pushed out the door, unless it's different where you are, but people all over the world tell me they get a prescription, they get another appointment, and they're told to get their affairs in order.
Yeah.
And if there were support services that wouldn't require near the cost factor to develop and set up those programs, it's a win. It could be a win-win on a lot of levels.
Laurie, I totally agree with you. But if we say although it's quite an old knowledge we have,
Mm-hmm.
it's still innovative.
Yep.
So who will be the payers in the system?
Mm-hmm.
Will be the government, and in particular in these times of pandemia, they spend quite a lot of billions and billions and billions. For example, for testing of COVID in Germany, it's around about 1.5 billion euros per week in Germany is paid for testing.
Wow.
1.5 billion. So it's not a matter of having money. It's a question of priorities and where you put the money in. And if we say innovative means also flexible. To be honest, governments are not really flexible because flexibility means acting differently in a short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the great insurance companies, they also have to think differently. And again, they are also very bureaucratic. They need to earn some money. And so at the end, what we really need are people, I will call them influencers, although I do not mean what the rest of the world means with influence. What I mean is persons who are prominent, who take care for others, and people in the rest of the world will at least listen to that.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have people such as that, we could speed up better than now. I'm totally sure.
I agree. What do you expect for the future of Alzheimer's disease and dementia?
Okay. Yes. I mean, first of all, what is very clear is that the amount of patients will increase dramatically within a relatively short period of time. So, according to studies I have seen, it will almost double worldwide. Will be 2050 round about 146 millions worldwide, which is quite a lot. The costs will increase without any doubt. But at the end, so again, what I hope is what you talked about, that thinking and strategies will change. Mm-hmm. What I expect, and this is coming again from biological and chemistry perspective of development, what I really expect is that we will have within the next 10 to 15 years tailored drugs, because it becomes more and more obvious that Alzheimer is not one form of Alzheimer, but a lot of different diseases which now are summarized as Alzheimer's. And if we are able to identify that by science, if we are able to apply test systems very early, let's say if we make search as a standard in people 60 years, just to identify very early whether they may have Alzheimer or not, this will be a good thing. We will have a fair chance to decrease numbers of Alzheimer patients. I don't know whether this will be a big decrease, but it will one. But what I really hope, but I'm not really sure whether I expect it in the near future, is thinking differently. And I hope that even if people look on this video now and about our discussion and what is consensus between us, I think quite a lot of other people, that laughing is a very good therapy. Accepting and laughing, even suffering, I think even suffering is very important, because again, it's also very emotional, and you may remember later. And not you remember as well as for funny things. So just expectations, we will increase science with good efforts and good success, and hopefully we will change the, let's say, environment for more innovative and more social aspects of therapy.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things you were talking about was the numbers, are going to go through the roof. And yet we don't really even have the equation of how COVID's going to affect that, where we know COVID.
Yes.
And so that's going to be really interesting to watch in the future
Yeah.
as well.
This is also one aspect in my book. And at least we have seen this in Germany. I don't know how the situation is in the US. Due to these measures and close downs, old people, in particular Alzheimer patients, were not allowed to have visitors for a long period of time.
Yep.
So it was like in jail. And what we have seen here by good studies now, that in the last 2 years, there's a big progress in patients having Alzheimer's. So the speed of progress seems to be higher than before pandemic, which might have some viral associations or whatsoever, but I think it's also a social aspect.
Yep.
I'm almost sure.
Yeah, we see the same thing. I've heard that all around the world with the isolation, and it's been hard not only for those diagnosed but staff as well. And I mean that the whole staffing issue is a crisis pretty much all over the world, which is making things even more difficult. So we have to get back to, in my opinion, this human compassionate side and deal with the reality of being human and what that means and what we want that to look like, because you and I could be next. So could our listeners with this disease. And we have to give thought to, how do we want to be treated? How do we want to live our life if that disease would hit us? This isn't about other people. This hits our families and it hits our friends, and it has no boundaries. You really can't protect yourself against it. You can try real hard to eat right and exercise and do all the things that they say. But again, there's no guarantee. So we have to look at a broader picture, and the social aspect, I think, is just such a humane one and such a vital piece for people to stay connected. So I loved when you were talking about, you go visit your folks for 3 hours. In 1 hour, you're working on the tasks that have to be done. But you make sure you have your time with them, that you're not losing your relationship. And that's very, very important. Well, I appreciate you taking time with us today. Again, why don't you go ahead and let people know how they can purchase your book and how they can contact you?
So at this point in time, my book is available in German language as an ebook on Amazon, but it will be translated within the next, let's say, 2 to 3 weeks into English, and then it will also be available as ebook and paperback again on Amazon. Okay,
wonderful.
Just a brief comment, and this is also something I stated in my book. I think it comes a little bit out that commercial is not everything for me. It's just that you need some money for projects. And what I propose is that from all the money this book will make, I will spend 30% for Alzheimer societies, and also for something totally different, but I'm really a fan of, is Doctors Without Borders. So I will not make any money out of it, and the remaining I will use for my own Alzheimer projects. There are some ideas I have where I unfortunately need some money at the beginning, and then it will pay out, and will follow the same concept. All the money which comes in, 30% will go into other projects.
Wonderful. I love that. So we'll never have enough projects out there, testing the system, and everybody needs something different. There's a saying, when you've met one person with dementia, you've met one. Same with care partners. We all we're all coming from a different space and time, and that can change as well. So we all need as much help as possible with this. We also have listed his contact information for LinkedIn and his email, so feel free to reach out to Chaim with that as well. And again, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for caring so well for your folks and sharing your experience with us. Really appreciate it very much.
Lori, it was really a pleasure. It was fun, and we also laughed a little bit.
That's right.
Okay.
We sure did. To our listeners, I hope you enjoyed this show. Please click, and share. Don't keep this information a secret. Check out his book and get it in German right now, but in a few weeks, it will be available in English on Amazon as well. So until next time, thank you, everyone. Have a blessed week.
Bye.
Hi, everyone. This is Meredith from the Senior Fitness with Meredith podcast, where I discuss all things for seniors, from fitness, your health and wellness journeys, how to be all over strong and beyond. I also have my mini podcast called Motivation with Meredith. It's a great, quick motivational pick-me-up for your days. Join me, listen now, search for Senior Fitness with Meredith on your favorite podcast platform.